Welcome to our deep dive on big goals. We're going deep with Caroline Adams Miller's book, Big Goals.
This will be good.
Yeah.
You know how much you love to absorb information quality and then actually put it to use?
Totally.
Miller really delivers on both.
Miller seems like the real deal.
Yeah.
She has a master's in applied positive psychology from UPenn, and she's written a bunch of bestsellers
Oh, yeah.
on happiness and achievement. Even Dr. Martin Seligman
The father of positive psychology.
exactly has praised her work.
He has. So we're definitely in good hands with this one.
For sure. One of the things that really struck me about Miller's book was her emphasis on goal-setting theory, or GST.
Right. Developed by Edwin Locke and Gary Latham.
Now, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
When I first heard about goal-setting theory, I thought, ugh, this is going to be a snooze fest.
Huh.
Super academic, but it's actually fascinating.
It really is. It's like the bedrock of effective goal setting.
Exactly. And it's not just some fluffy motivational stuff.
No.
It's based on decades of scientific research.
Solid research.
Yeah.
Which is what we love.
Absolutely. Now, one of the key distinctions in GST
Okay.
is between learning goals and performance goals.
Yes.
Can you break that down for me a bit?
Sure. So learning goals are all about acquiring new skills or knowledge, like learning a new language.
Okay.
Or taking up a new musical instrument.
Got it.
It's about expanding your capabilities.
Adding new tools to your toolbox.
Exactly.
Okay. What about performance goals then?
Those are about applying your existing skills to achieve a specific outcome. So you're fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
And your goal is to give a presentation in Spanish.
Right.
That would be a performance goal.
Yeah.
You're using your existing skills to hit a specific target.
Ah. Okay, I see the difference now. It's not about whether you're learning or performing, but the focus of the goal.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what does GST say about setting these different types of goals?
Both types work best when they're challenging and specific.
So not too easy, but also not too vague.
Exactly. You need that sweet spot.
Otherwise, you lose motivation or get sidetracked. Makes sense. Now, Miller doesn't just stop at GST. She takes it a step further with her own framework.
She does.
It's called the bridge methodology,
Yes.
which she argues addresses some of the gaps in traditional goal-setting methods.
Like SMART goals.
Okay, remind me what SMART goals are again.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
All good stuff. But Miller points out that focusing solely on those criteria can be a little robotic.
Yeah, like checking boxes instead of connecting with your goals on a deeper level.
Exactly. It doesn't account for the human element.
Like our well-being, mindset, and relationships.
All crucial factors.
So tell me more about this bridge methodology. What are the key components?
Well, BRIDGE stands for brainstorming relationships, investments, decision-making, good grit, and excellence.
Okay, I'm already intrigued.
It's a really comprehensive approach. For example, with brainstorming,
Yeah.
it's not just about writing down every single goal that pops into your head.
Oh, that would be overwhelming.
Right. It's about digging deeper,
Rah.
asking yourself, what are my core values?
What are my unique strengths?
Exactly. What kind of impact do I want to make?
So it's about aligning your goals with your authentic self.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most fascinating ideas in Miller's book,
Okay.
it may be a bit counterintuitive,
Yeah.
is that happiness often precedes success, not the other way around.
Right.
So I don't have to achieve something to be happy. Happiness can actually help me achieve my goals.
That's what the research by Lubomirsky, Diener, and King found.
Wow.
It's a total shift in perspective. We tend to think, once I hit this goal, then I'll be happy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But cultivating happiness and well-being actually fuels our motivation and our resilience.
Okay, that's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And the good news is,
Yeah.
there are evidence-based strategies for boosting your well-being.
Like what?
Things like practicing gratitude,
Okay.
engaging in aerobic exercise,
Got it.
listening to uplifting music, acts of giving.
So they're all things I can start doing today. So it's not about grinding away, hoping that achieving my goals will make me happy, but focusing on cultivating happiness first.
You got it.
That's powerful. Now, speaking of powerful, Miller also talks a lot about grit.
Oh, yes. But not just any grit. She distinguishes between good grit and bad grit.
Wait, good grit and bad grit. I've never heard that distinction before.
It's all about the why behind your grit. Good grit is fueled by passion, perseverance, and a strong sense of purpose.
So it's not just about being tough or pushing through pain.
No, it's about having a fire in your belly that's directed towards something meaningful and beneficial.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's bad grit then?
Bad grit is often driven by ego, greed, or a win-at-all-costs mentality. Think of those corporate leaders who prioritize profits over people.
Ah, I see. So it might lead to short-term success, but it's ultimately unsustainable.
And often harmful.
Right. It's like the difference between a wildfire that destroys everything and a controlled burn that helps a forest thrive.
Great analogy. And Miller also explores the complexities of grit, including the gender differences and how it's perceived and rewarded.
I'm really interested in that
Yeah.
because it's clear that women often face different challenges and expectations when it comes to ambition and leadership.
Absolutely. Miller cites research that shows how women who exhibit assertive or ambitious behavior can be penalized, while men who display those same traits are seen as strong leaders.
It's a reminder that we need to address these systemic biases to create a fairer playing field for everyone.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another crucial piece of the puzzle. Relationships.
Yeah, because we can't achieve big goals in isolation, right?
Exactly. Our connections with others play a vital role.
I'm really curious to delve into that more
Me too.
because it makes sense intuitively, but I want to hear what the research says about the impact of relationships on goal achievement.
Well, there's this fascinating concept called emotional contagion.
Emotional contagion.
Yes. Research by Christakis and Fowler shows that just like a cold can spread through a group of people, negativity and pessimism can also be contagious.
Wait, are you saying that just being around negative people can make it harder to achieve my goals?
It can. It's like negativity is a virus that infects our mindset and saps our motivation.
So it's like I need to build an immunity to negativity.
Exactly. And surround yourself with people who are radiating positivity.
Right, because positive emotions can also be contagious.
That's right. So surrounding yourself with supportive, encouraging people can boost your chances of success.
That makes sense. But how do we know who's truly supportive and who might be bringing us down?
That's a great question. And Miller offers some tools for assessing our relationships.
Okay, like what?
One tool is Shelley Gable's research on active constructive responding, or ACR.
I've heard of ACR, but to be honest, I'm not totally clear on what it means.
Okay, so ACR identifies 4 ways people respond to good news.
Okay.
Active constructive responding is the most positive.
All right.
It's about showing genuine enthusiasm, asking questions.
So not just saying that's great, but really engaging with the person.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
Then there's passive constructive responding, which is more subdued.
Like that's nice, but without much energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the 2 destructive responses. Active destructive,
Yeah.
where you downplay or dismiss the good news.
Ouch.
And passive destructive, where you basically ignore it.
That's rough.
So by understanding these 4 types, we can start to analyze our relationships and see who's really in our corner.
It's like building a dream team for goal achievement.
Exactly. Everyone's cheering each other on.
I love that.
And Miller gives some great examples of this, like the story of Katie Ledecky and her coach.
Oh, the Olympic swimmer.
The one and only.
She's amazing.
Her coach didn't just focus on her physical training. He challenged her to redefine her own definition of excellence.
So he was pushing her to think bigger.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of the power of a supportive mentor who helps you unlock your potential.
I'm starting to see how all these different pieces fit together. It's not just about setting a goal and charging ahead. It's about creating a supportive ecosystem. And that includes having a solid decision-making process.
Yes. And this is where things get really interesting. Miller draws on the work of Daniel Kahneman.
The Nobel laureate.
You know it.
He wrote Thinking Fast and Slow. Right.
That's the one.
Such a good book.
He distinguishes between noise and bias in decision-making.
Now, we've all heard about bias, but noise. I'm not so sure about that.
Think of bias as a systematic error, a consistent lean in a particular direction, like always underestimating how long a project will take.
Okay, so bias is like having a blind spot.
Exactly.
What about noise then?
Noise is random variability in judgment. It's like flipping a coin when making a decision.
So bias is predictable, noise is random.
Exactly. And Kahneman argues that noise can be just as detrimental as bias.
Especially in high-stakes situations.
Right. He points out that even experts in fields like medicine and finance are susceptible to noise.
Wow, so even the pros aren't immune.
Nope. We all have to be aware of both noise and bias.
Okay, so how do we mitigate these factors?
Miller offers some great strategies.
What?
Using structured decision-making processes.
Oh.
Creating checklists to guide our thinking.
Got it.
Seeking diverse opinions to challenge our assumptions.
So basically, having a system in place.
Exactly. And most importantly, managing our emotions.
Because when we're stressed or emotional, it's harder to think clearly.
Exactly. Staying calm and composed, even when the stakes are high, is key.
So it's like having a mental game plan for making decisions.
Precisely. Speaking of investments, that's the next I in the bridge framework.
Investments. So we're not just talking about money here, are we?
Not at all. Miller really expands on the idea of investment.
Okay, good. Because I was picturing like stock portfolios and stuff.
Well, those are important too. But Miller emphasizes investing time, energy, and even social capital.
Social capital. What's that?
Think of it like this. It's the value you get from your relationships and networks.
Okay.
It's like saying, it's not just what you know, it's who you know, but not in a manipulative way.
Right, not just networking for personal gain.
Exactly. It's about genuine connection, fostering trust.
Being a good friend, basically.
Good community member. And those investments pay off.
They do.
Sometimes in unexpected ways.
Like how?
Opportunities open up, you get more support when you need it, you even get new ideas from those connections.
Makes sense. It's like investing in your relationships.
Yeah.
And they invest back in you.
Exactly. And Miller acknowledges that making these investments takes effort.
Yeah, nothing worthwhile is easy.
Right?
Right? You might have to say no to some things. To free up time and energy for your goals.
It's about prioritizing.
And being intentional with your resources. Making sure they align with your values.
And your overall vision.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good reminder. So decision making. Back to the D in bridge.
Right. This is where Miller gets really into the nitty-gritty of how our minds work.
I'm all about the nitty-gritty. Let's hear it.
She goes beyond the usual trust your gut advice.
Okay, good, because sometimes my gut is wrong.
Uh-huh. Everyone says sometimes. She wants us to understand how we make decisions and what can trip us up.
Like those cognitive biases we talked about. Exactly, those mental shortcuts that can lead to errors.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, let's talk about confirmation bias. That's the tendency to look for information that confirms what we already believe.
Even if it's wrong.
Even if it's wrong.
Yikes. So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
Well, awareness is key. Just knowing that confirmation bias exists helps.
Okay.
And then actively seeking out different perspectives, challenging your own assumptions.
Not just surrounding yourself with yes people.
Exactly.
And being open to changing your mind when new evidence comes up.
Yes. Humility is crucial.
Humility. Miller also talks about data and feedback, right?
She does. She uses examples like the success of FrameBridge.
Oh, I love FrameBridge.
Me too. They really leverage customer data to make decisions.
So it's not just about intuition.
Not just gut feelings.
Yeah.
Using data can give you more objective insights.
It's like having a roadmap instead of just wandering around.
Exactly. Now remember noise versus bias.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I was a little fuzzy on.
Okay, so imagine you're a judge deciding on a sentence for a crime.
Okay.
Bias might lead you to be harsher on certain groups of people.
Right, like systemic biases.
Exactly. But noise could make you inconsistent in your sentencing, even for the same crime.
Just because you're in a different mood that day.
Exactly. Noise is like that. It's random and unpredictable.
So how do we deal with noise?
Similar strategies to bias: structured decision-making, checklists, diverse opinions.
So creating systems to minimize those random variation.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to good grit, the next G.
This is where we get into the real meat of perseverance.
Right. It's not just about being tough. It's about the fuel behind that toughness.
Passion, purpose, all that.
Exactly. Miller highlights Nelson Mandela,
Okay.
decades in prison, emerged a symbol of hope.
Incredible example of good grit.
It's not just willpower. It's aligning your efforts with something bigger.
Your grit is only as good as the cause it serves.
Exactly. And self-awareness is key too.
Knowing yourself, your strengths, your limits.
Exactly. Knowing when to push and when to rest.
Building good habits.
Yes. And having that support system.
Your pit crew.
Exactly. People who believe in you and cheer you on. And Miller doesn't shy away from the gender differences here either.
Because grit can look different for men and women.
And it's often judged differently.
Absolutely.
She talks about how women can be penalized for being assertive, while men are praised for the same behavior.
Double standard.
It's a reminder that we need to challenge those norms and create a more equitable environment for everyone to succeed.
Okay, so on to the final E, in bridge. Excellence.
This is where Miller really pushes us to think deeply about what success means.
Beyond just money and achievement.
Exactly. It's about more than external markers. It's about internal fulfillment.
Living a life that feels meaningful.
Exactly. She encourages us to move away from a fixed mindset.
Where we see excellence as a static goal.
Yes. and embrace a growth mindset.
Where it's an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a destination.
I love that. So how do we cultivate that growth mindset?
Miller suggests embracing challenges, seeking feedback, and seeing setbacks as learning opportunities.
Not being afraid to fail.
Exactly, because failure is just part of the process.
And she talks about the importance of self-talk.
Oh, absolutely. Our thoughts have so much power.
Like whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. So we need to cultivate a positive inner dialogue. Focus on our strengths, celebrate our progress.
Be our own best cheerleaders.
Exactly. Now, one thing that really stuck with me is Miller's emphasis on purpose.
Finding your why.
Exactly. Aligning your goals with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That gives your life meaning.
It's not just about achieving for the sake of achieving.
Right. It's about making a contribution.
Yeah.
That's where the real fulfillment lies.
Okay, so purpose-driven goals.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on big goals, what are your final thoughts?
You know, for me, the biggest takeaway is the importance of a holistic approach. It's not just about setting goals and grinding. It's about cultivating happiness, nurturing relationships, making wise decisions, developing good grit, and striving for excellence.
It's about the whole package.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values and your vision for a fulfilling life.
All right, so we've talked about the bridge framework and all those crucial elements like grit, relationships, and emotional contagion.
So much good stuff.
What are Miller's final thoughts on all this? How do we actually put it all into practice?
Well, she emphasizes that achieving big goals, it's a journey, not a destination.
Okay, I like that.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Not getting so caught up in the end result that you forget to enjoy the process.
Exactly. And it's about aligning your efforts with what truly matters to you, your values, your vision for a fulfilling life.
Right, having that sense of purpose, but she also stresses taking action, right?
Absolutely. She encourages us to break down those big, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Creating a roadmap.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Identifying those milestones along the way, that will keep you motivated and on track.
Like climbing a mountain one step at a time.
Exactly. And Miller offers practical tips for taking action, like setting deadlines.
Deadlines always help me.
Me too. Creating accountability systems.
Okay.
Finding people who will support you on your journey.
Your cheerleaders, your coaches.
Exactly. Having that support system makes all the difference. And she reminds us that achieving big goals often means stepping outside your comfort zone.
Embracing those challenges.
Yes, and being willing to learn from mistakes.
Knowing that failure is just a part of the journey.
It's all about that growth mindset, believing that you can always learn and improve.
And she talks about the power of self-talk too, right?
Yes. Our thoughts have such a powerful impact on our actions and our results.
If you believe you can do it, you're more likely to succeed.
Exactly. So she encourages us to cultivate a more positive inner dialogue. Focus on your strengths, celebrate your progress.
Be your own biggest fan.
Exactly. Now, one thing that really stood out to me in Miller's conclusion was her emphasis on purpose.
Ah, yes. Finding your why.
Exactly. Aligning your goals with something larger than yourself. Something that gives your life meaning.
Because it's not just about achieving for the sake of achieving.
No, it's about making a contribution to something bigger than yourself.
That's where the real fulfillment comes in.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive into big goals, what are your biggest takeaways? What's one action step you're going to take?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is the importance of a holistic approach. It's not just about setting smart goals and grinding away. It's about all those other elements. We talked about happiness, relationships, decision-making, grit, and excellence.
Right. It's about integrating all those pieces.
Exactly. And for me, the most actionable step is to really reflect on my core values.
Love that.
I want to make sure that my goals are aligned with what truly matters to me, what makes me feel alive and excited.
That's so powerful. What about you?
Yeah, that's definitely a big one for me.
For me, it's really about embracing the power of emotional contagion. I'm going to be more intentional about surrounding myself with positive, supportive people, and I'm going to make an effort to be that source of positivity for others too, celebrating their wins and offering encouragement.
I love that. It's like we're both taking a page from Miller's book, creating our own bridge to success.
One that's built on a solid foundation.
Of self-awareness, strong relationships, and a deep sense of purpose.
Exactly. So, to our listeners, we encourage you to do the same. Take these insights, apply them to your own lives, and start building your own bridge to success.
You don't have to go it alone. We're all in this together. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.